This is True Home Confessions, a show where I, Laurie March, have friends and experts weigh in with advice on your juiciest stories and questions from the home. We have a really good season coming up. In one of the coming episodes, I had a powerful conversation on understanding the impact of humor and advice, both friendly and professional, with one of my season 1 experts. When we were listening to it, my producer and I decided to pull this out and start you off with a little bit of an episode 0. Please enjoy this excerpt from my time with psychotherapist, New York Times bestselling author, and co-host of the Dear Therapist podcast on iHeartRadio, Lori Gottlieb. As a project manager in LA over the years, I've had access to so many different kinds of craftsmen and women, unique service providers and contractors. Need somebody to explain solar panel amortization to you, or a floor stain expert, maybe non-toxic bug sprayers? I got your guy. When people reach out to me freaking out over an inspection or mention something that they're struggling with at home, the spider web of people that I can get to get a casual or a formal answer from is huge. I truly enjoy connecting people and solving problems in people's homes. I made this show so that some of those solutions could reach a wider audience and people could actually hear the amazing advice that we get. Conflict, problems, changing life situations at home, all of these things can be kind of lonely. So we talk it out with our friends, hopefully, and get another perspective. True Home Confessions highlights the gulf, though, between that friendly advice and expert advice. Actually, this season, we've already recorded all of our friend of the show segments, and I can honestly tell you some of it is wild. Sometimes, though, we actually strike on some solid, thoughtful advice. Sometimes you get the gold. And speaking of gold, actually, this week's expert is none other than advice columnist for The Atlantic, co-host of the extremely popular iHeartRadio podcast, Dear Therapists, New York Times bestselling author of Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. It's Lori Gottlieb. Hello.
Hello. So great to be here.
What a fabulous, I feel like that list just gets better and better. I want to be a fangirl for a split second here. I am so excited to talk to you because I just love the way that you humanize therapy and the process of asking for help.
Yeah, I think so many people are afraid to ask for help because they kind of feel like there's this hierarchy of pain that if I don't have, if I have a roof over my head and food on the table, then I don't deserve to get help because, somebody has it worse than I do. And there isn't a hierarchy. Pain is pain. We all go through life, we struggle. And I think that if more people reached out for help, it would be such a relief for not only them, but for the people around them.
Oh my God, that is so true. One thing I noticed when I was combing through all of your various episodes was in the ratings in the comments on your podcast, Dear Therapists with Guy Winch, so many of the listeners are other mental health professionals, and they're all in there talking about how they're learning from your episodes and they're taking, these little nuggets home. So I'm actually pretty sure there's no one more qualified to talk about advice than maybe you.
I think it's great that so many of us are out there helping people understand sort of what therapy does and what it doesn't do. There are so many misconceptions about therapy. And I think so many people think you're going to come in, you're going to download the problem of the week, you're going to leave, you're going to come back, kind of like going to the gym. And it's not like that. It's so much about, we like to say insight is the booby prize of therapy, that you can have all the insight in the world, but if you don't make changes out in the world, the insight is useless. So it's so much about what you're doing between the sessions, using what you learned in the sessions.
Oh, I've never heard that before. And that feels so powerful. Your book is called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. And by the way, for those of you listening, it has sold 1 million copies. And this is just such a milestone. I just want to celebrate you for that. That is incredible.
Well, thank you. We're doing a TV series with it as well. And Kristen Bell is playing me. So I'm very excited about that.
Delightful. Oh my God.
Love her.
You've been quoted as saying it's partly maybe you should talk to a therapist, but partly maybe you could talk to somebody in your life as well. Can you explain that to me a little bit?
Yeah, I think so many of us feel like we don't want to talk about what we're actually going through because we imagine we're the only ones.
Right.
And we imagine that everybody else, based on social media, based on the ways in which we present ourselves in the world, has it together. And so I think that the more that we realize that we are more the same than we are different, the more we will feel connection. And so many people are sort of chasing happiness. They all want, everybody says, I want to be happier. I want to be happier. And what really makes you happy is feeling like you have solid connection in your life. And the more that we go into our separate silos, the less connection that we have. So I feel like maybe you should talk to someone. The title of the book means just maybe you should talk more to the people in your life, whether that's, your family members, your friends, your romantic partner. Just take off the mask. And I just think, share who you are and share what you're thinking about. People feel closer to you when they feel like they're dealing with the truth of who you are.
I feel like this could have been like the mantra of this show actually too. And that's why I feel like I resonated so much with so much of what you put out there in the world. Because it seems to me like understanding the impact of advice, sort of friendly and professional, kind of seems like a mission of yours.
I like that people are reaching out, but I think that really when people write in for advice, whether it's to the column or to the podcast, they kind of know what they should do, but they're afraid to do it. And so I think that a lot of what I'm doing is I'm helping people to access the answer that they already have within them. I'm not necessarily telling them what to do. I'm helping them to hear that voice inside that is maybe getting drowned out by all the louder voices outside, and to really listen to that internal voice, that's that place of knowing that we all have, and to really turn up the volume on that place of knowing, and then not to be afraid to act on it.
Yeah. And I feel like for a lot of us, that knowing is telling us something that we don't want to hear sometimes. And so, there's that sort of looking for a second opinion in the fond hope that it's going to be something else when we actually already know what the answer is.
Yes, when someone brings you something and they're sort of gunning for you to say the thing that they want to hear, as opposed to the thing that they need to hear.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think that's the difference between what I call in the book, and this comes from Buddhism, but it's the difference between idiot compassion and wise compassion. So idiot compassion is what we do with our friends. They say, listen to what my partner, my sister, my coworker, my friend did. And we say, yeah, you're right. They're wrong. You go, girl. Right? Because we think that we're being supportive. That's idiot compassion. And it's kind of like if you listen to your friend over time, they probably are bringing you very similar kinds of things because they're not willing to look at their own role in what's not working. And so it's kind of like if a fight breaks out in every bar you're going to, maybe it's you. We don't say that to our friends. And so what you get in therapy is you get wise compassion. And in wise compassion, we hold up a mirror to you and we help you to see something about your role in the situation that maybe you haven't been willing or able to see. And that's where the growth and the change and the freedom come from. So I think it's important when we think about advice, we go to our friends for advice. Often they're just going to back up what they think you want to hear. And that's not very helpful. Sometimes you need to be brave and you need to help your friend by saying the thing that maybe they need to hear as opposed to what they want to hear. And the word compassion is in there because it's done with compassion.
Yeah, the goal is not to light them on fire and be nasty to them. Yeah. Lori, what do you think happens when we ask our friends for advice more honestly? Do you think that there's like a bridge that happens there where maybe that person also gets to be a little more honest because you were a little more honest?
I think what it does is it introduces a new level of trust into the relationship, because now you trust that this person is going to tell you something that is in your best interests. And when that trust is there, you know that, oh, that's the person I really want to talk to about this difficult situation, because they're going to help me see it from all the different angles. And that's going to help me make the best decision about how I want to move forward with this situation.
I'm hoping fondly that some of our anonymous confessors, when they watch their confessions pop up or listen to them, when they listen to this friendly advice, I'm so hoping that even the painful and hilarious stuff, I'm truly hoping that it's honest. Some of it, even if it's hilariously bad advice, I do feel like there is some honesty in humor sometimes, especially if a situation feels dark or hard, that, there is a little bit of joy in that humor. And maybe it kind of can become like a key to sort of unlock some other ideas potentially.
I love that you said that, because so many people say, oh, isn't it depressing being a therapist? You're just hearing all these painful stories all day. And when I tell them we laugh a lot in the therapy room, they're very confused by that. But humor is so important. And also, it helps us to look at the ridiculousness of the human condition. We are all ridiculous at times.
Yeah.
And so if we can laugh at ourselves in that way, and there's that gap between sort of what we say we want and what we actually do, and the ways in which we just get in our own ways over and over. And that's really funny. It's very funny to see, because now you can make change. Now you're not bathing in shame around it. If you feel shame around it, you're just going to hide. But if you can bring it out into the open and laugh about it, now you can say, okay, I'm able to look at this, and that makes room for, and I'm able to do something different now.
Oof. It's like, I think I say this to my friends a lot. Oh, that's my toxic trait, because you are identifying something in yourself and it's like, wow, that's a pattern. I do that thing. And
yes,
somehow by like labeling it as your toxic trait, you at least can like stare at it and say, wow, I actually have repeated this dumb thing more than once. And maybe I could grow from it one day.
And the sharing of it is so important, because it's, I do this thing and you still love me.
Yeah.
And that's so powerful, that I have this thing that is maybe less than ideal and you still love me anyway.
Yeah. That's juicy, Lori. That's good stuff.